Well, you'll be looking at Richardson and McLaurin as the outside receivers, and then in the slot you'll have Trey Quinn.
So I would bet Gilmore covers Richardson, and then you'll get the Jason McCourty, Jonathan Jones, J.C. Jackson trio on the other two.
This is intriguing, Jay. Really, I don't care. Move on.
Oh, I care about this.
Too much talk about a team that's going to lose.
Absolutely, yeah. Come on, 0-5.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. That's the next game. Bucs are at the Saints. The Bucs, despite their ginormous victory over the Rams, moved up only one spot in the power rankings to 22. Shows you how much we believe in them. The Saints, meanwhile, with Teddy Two Gloves, moved back to number 3 in the power rankings. They are favored by 3 points in this particular matchup. You put up 55 points on the road versus the Rams and have the league's leading sacker, and that will open some eyeballs. But despite the sacks, the Bucs are still allowing 29.3 points per game on defense. And despite not having Drew Brees, the Saints are still 3-1, and Teddy Two Gloves is completing over 70% of his passes. I wonder if there's something about the system there in New Orleans, because I think Drew Brees completes 70% of his passes on a yearly basis. I'm going to take the Saints at Dome, as will James, because he knows the Saints at Dome is a sure thing. Neil, once again, are you just going opposite to try and catch up? What are you doing here?
Catching up. I'm well ahead of you guys. I think. Did you watch the game against Dallas last week? The Saints in Dallas.
Yeah.
It was a very dour and very poor looking offense, and I think now we've had Bridgewater in for a couple of games. I think teams are probably starting to work him out, and he might be throwing 70% of his passes, Jay, but most of them are about 2 yards in length. So I think their yards per play has dropped considerably since Mr. Brees departed with his injured wrist, and I'm just not sure. I think Winston will have one of these games where he maybe throws 4 touchdowns and 4 picks, but that might just be too many points for the Saints to catch up in this game. I'm not sure I see a lot of points coming out of the Saints right now. I know they scored, I think it was 33 against Seattle a couple of weeks back, but, well, can Bridgewater do it? Let's see. I just think Winston is a better quarterback than Bridgewater, and will get the job done.
Yeah, you mentioned the Dallas game. I would disagree and say that was 2 defenses that showed up and made that game ultra hard for either offense to do anything. The Saints forced 2 turnovers, one on Elliott, who hardly ever fumbles. The offense is still you have to understand that this offense is tailored for Drew Brees, and it's being tweaked for Teddy Bridgewater. So he may not be 100% comfortable in this scheme yet. Yeah, he studied it, but it still doesn't fit his skill set in any way, shape, or form. So I think that they're still working on what works best with him in there as the starting quarterback. And as they figure that out, they'll be fine. As far as most pundits and fans are concerned, they're ahead of the curve, considering that you expect a split over the time frame that Drew Brees is out, and they've already won 2 games.
I don't trust that Jameis Winston can do it again.
Well, there's that too. I'm solely picking this game because, like you said earlier, the Saints are at home. I do like the way Winston is playing, with the exception of week 1.
Yeah.
I love the way Jameis Winston is playing, and I'm trying to be optimistically cautious here because between Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich, this is probably the best Winston has looked over a 3-game stretch in his entire career. He's not turning the ball over. He's making solid reads. They're putting points on the board. And honestly, with the exception of that Giants game, and that's not even his fault. He has not cost his team a game. That Giants game was solely on the coaching mismanagement, as far as the defense not going after the rookie and Arians not managing the clock better at the end. They should have went for a touchdown instead of trying to get the field goal. They had more than ample time to do so. But Winston is balling this year.
Talking about Byron Leftwich, he is currently the favorite to take over from Jay Gruden in Washington.
Which is funny because Byron Leftwich is from the D.C. area. He went to the DeMatha High School.
Yeah, that's right.
The New York Jets are at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry. I forgot the injury report, didn't I?
Quick injury hits here, and I'll keep this brief for the Buccaneers. Vita Vea, Brashard Perriman, Shaq Barrett, Ryan Jensen, Chris Godwin, and Devin White all show up on the injury report as questionable. For the Saints, Cameron Jordan, Von Bell, Traquan Smith, Aldris Pete, and Will Clapp show up in the injury report as questionable for various injuries. The first three are nursing calf, back, and ankle injuries, respectively.
Has Will Clapp got some sort of disease, do we know of?
Wow.
Lord.
I was just distracted by our Slack group. We forgot to talk about the Stephon Diggs. Apparently, reports that he wants to be traded out of Minnesota.
Another one.
Today, he said, "There's truth to all rumors. I won't be speaking on that." Interesting.
Was he like, I don't get the ball anymore, so I want to go somewhere else? I mean,
well, how are the Bengals and the Redskins players not all demanding trades at this point?
It's honestly, they're overgrown children. For goodness sake, get a grip. Oh, it really pisses me right off.
He's really not getting the ball this year unless he's wide open. I don't know why Cousins doesn't trust him, but Cousins is pretty much looking for Thielen and Rudolph on every single play, and Diggs is beyond an afterthought because the primary focus of this offense now is running the ball. So they're trying to make everything go through Dalvin Cook, and when they do pass, Diggs is not even the third option.
Well, I mean, Adam Thielen, he's not even getting the ball to Adam Thielen. He's apologizing for it during the week. So,
that's right, I mean, if you're not getting the ball, then if you're not getting the ball, play harder, work harder, and eventually things will come your way. You know, you don't start demanding a trade. I mean, God, Jesus.
All right, back to that Jets-Eagles game that I mentioned is happening Sunday, 1:00. Jets 28th in the power rankings. The Eagles are 8th in the power rankings. Eagles, I don't get this. We'll get to the spread in just a second. Philly by 2 touchdowns. No way. But versus Luke Falk, they'll win. And even if Sam Kissing Disease Darnold plays, I'll take the Birds. By the way, did you know Eagles have a 10-0 record all time against the Jets? That's the most wins any team in the league has over another team without losing a game. No other team has more than 5 wins against another team without losing a game. We're all taking the Eagles. I am not taking the Eagles minus 13.5, though.
This is the green bowl, isn't it? They're both teams wearing green.
That's right.
If you like green, this is a game for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the offseason, the Jets changed their color green to the Eagles' midnight green. And hopefully the helmets don't become a distraction in this game because it's going to be hard telling who's who if that's all you're looking at. Quick hit on the injuries for Philadelphia. Derek Barnett didn't practice due to a growing injury. Avonte Maddox is not going to play. He's still in concussion protocol and wearing a neck brace.
Is he okay? I mean, other than just
No, he did make the flight back with the team after the game on Thursday night.
Yeah, that was a worrying one.
It was friendly fire gone completely awry there. Sidney Jones is nursing a hamstring. He's questionable. Darby is out. Deshaun Jackson most likely won't play with his ab, and Tim Jernigan is still out. For the New York Jets, wide receiver Josh Bellamy has a shoulder injury. C.J. Mosley has a growing. Demaryius Thomas is hampered by knee and hamstring injuries. Quentin Williams is questionable with an ankle. Running back Trenton Cannon is rehabbing from hamstring surgery still, and we already mentioned Sam Darnold. Kelechi Osemele is managing a knee injury, so that offensive line not completely healthy.
I mean, you could argue that Sam Darnold's injury is also friendly fire.
Well done.
Next game.
Well, you Americans are the kings of friendly fire. Come on.
Let's just bask in the glory of that one. That was a good joke. That was a great one.
Oh gosh. Nicely timed.
Baltimore Ravens are at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, this would be a classic game if not for what has occurred so far this season. The Baltimore Ravens are 9th in the power rankings, the Steelers 24th. Ravens favored on the road in Pittsburgh. When's the last time this happened? They're favored by 3.5 points in Pittsburgh. Ravens finally stumbled versus a divisional opponent last week. Steelers finally looked like the Steelers we expected versus the Bengals. The power rankings say it all. I'm going to take the Ravens, as are we all. I mean, the Steelers last week had the Bengals. That's the only reason why the Steelers looked any good. Otherwise, their season has been kaplooey. And listen, I didn't want Antonio Brown on my team when they signed him. Clear that the Steelers needed to get rid of him. Le'Veon Bell, they should have paid him. I don't get this. We needed to jettison all this talent and we're a better team garbage, because that was the only conversation we got coming out of Pittsburgh, and I'm not seeing any talent in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I tell you something, guys. Antonio Brown, for all his off-field stuff, obviously a complete clown, but I tell you, that guy is a great wide receiver, a really, really great wide receiver. Potentially the best wide receiver that's not in the league. Well, if he was in the league, best wide receiver in the league. Terrific player. And I do wonder, that Juju Smith-Schuster guy, I'm not sure he's the number one receiver. What do you guys think? You're fantasy guys. What's the fantasy world saying about Smith-Schuster?
No, he's a Robin to a Batman.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Somebody has to take the pressure off him because, number one wide receivers get the ball despite coverage, no matter how close it is. And They find ways to get open.
Yeah.
But listen, James, Juju Smith-Schuster, he's a good stand-up fella. And
he is.
He's certainly enduring himself to Pittsburgh.
That he is, through his social media accounts and all the goodwill he's done. And he's accepted this role and, he's doing his job. Now, it doesn't matter if he catches 10 passes or 2. He's happy for everyone around him to eat.
And I dare say, this, when we talk about his social media, I think it was just last week where he posted breaking news. I am not demanding a trade out of Pittsburgh. I thought that
nice.
was well done by him.
That was well done. But if I could segue just shortly here, this is the focus of my little mini rant because after week one.
When you say mini, are we talking like 2 minutes? Just so I know what I can do.
Time it.
Neil, don't cut me off. I'm going to keep it brief. Because after week one, we were writing this team off for dead, and we had SuperFans in our Slack channel. You can go back, calling for the head of the Pittsburgh head coach, even going back to last year. I want you to know that if things progress this way and the Steelers end up with a losing record, it will be Mike Tomlin's first losing record in his 12 years coaching in Pittsburgh. Guess how many Bill Cowher had?
More than that.
3. 3 losing seasons in Pittsburgh at 7-9, 6-10, and 6-10 again. I don't understand how our Slack group so easily wants Mike Tomlin's head on a platter. I'm not saying he's a far superior coach than Bill Cowher by any means, but their win percentages are fairly even. They're hitting the playoffs at a similar clip. They're having similar playoff success. It just so happens that their 2 coaching tenures overlap with a certain coach and quarterback in the New England area. There's really nothing you can do about that. But as far as head coaches in the NFL, there is no reason that any pundit or anybody anywhere observing football, calls himself a fan of football, should be calling for Mike Tomlin's job over the last 3 seasons. He's done what he was able to do with the talent he's had. Now, granted, some people think that he's underachieved, but again, you got those 2 geniuses up in New England who scheme to take away your best weapons, and that's all they do every time they play. So I don't want to hear any more talk about Tomlin's job being on the hot seat. And this goes directly to our other super fans in our Slack group. Get off Mike Tomlin's back. This will be his first losing season if things continue to transpire. Let him have this, no matter how good or bad it goes. But I don't want to hear any more talk about Tomlin on a hot seat.
2 minutes. You did it. Right on the nose. That was well done, James.
And I'm right with you, James. I agree with you. Tomlin out.
I will say this about that. And it's a similar thing that I say to my son all the time before the injury came out about